locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Hey there, business owners. Do you feel lost in a sea of numbers, struggling to navigate your day-to-day accounting? At Lighthouse CPAs, they specialize in guiding businesses to make more money and keep more of what you make. From bookkeeping to tax planning, they've got you covered. Plus, with their user-friendly software, managing your finances has never been easier. Spend less time on paperwork and more time growing your business. Call Lighthouse CPAs 850-785-5254.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. 800-708-3092. That's 800-708-3092.
WVLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Pushed away and intercepted. Ball game. The fairy tale continues.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
And the breakthrough for the U.S.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
The fairy tale continues as lucky enough I'm blessed to be here in the building with two amazing fellas. That is Coach Brian Haddad and James Fife. Yeah, I know I'm being nice off the bat,
need
but
to check your drink.
It is clear, but it's still sealed. So there you go.
Shake it a bit. See how many bubbles come in.
Oh, there's a few of them. 850-205-6290. I'm David Hayes again, along with Coach Brian Haddad and James Fife. It's Monday, so what does that mean? Best and worst of the weekend. And we are taking your calls, taking your text, 850-215-6290 on your home for the Auburn Tigers, the Mosley Dolphins, and the Atlanta Braves. 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. The Atlanta Braves did take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, but game 4 is tonight. And we'll get you to the coverage at 6 o'clock tonight. First pitch between Max Fried and Yamamoto tonight at 6:20. Do you feel confident, Brian? Well, not that you really care, because you got to be. Are you?
No,
let's
I care.
start with your Yankees. Let's start with your Yankees. No. Are you confident in your Yankees?
No.
No,
I never am.
Okay. I don't blame you on that.
I still don't love the rotation, and that scares me in the playoffs. Finally seeming to hit the ball a little better. Judge, finally kind of came out of his home run slump. I mean, if you can say that about a guy with 53 on the year, but the slump for him is 2 games without a home run.
Coming out of that slump with a grand slam, a game-winning grand slam. How about that?
Look, in general, it's a talented team that, if they catch fire, and we've seen it, it's kind of like the way the College World Series, the MLB playoffs has been similar. It should be all about pitching, and lately it seems like it's whichever team kind of catches fire with the bats.
Yeah.
So, the Yankees certainly have that in spades. I still don't love the rotation, but, we'll see. It's, the American League, it seems a little more of a toss-up. The National League, I'm glad I don't have to, play the Diamondbacks until the World Series.
Don't they look
the way
good.
they're running. So, we'll see.
There you go. James, how about there's no one that you can really be confident in right now, right?
Well, I'll say what I said about the Cubs that I said about it beginning of the year. They're going to be in it until the last week of the season. They're going to have a slow start, which they did. They're going to get about halfway through the season and have a nice little upswing in which everybody's going to believe. They're going to make a trade with a young prospect and give him away for a guy that'll only be there for a year, which they did. They'll come into the last week of the season still with that hope and dream and mightily smash it when Seiya Suzuki drops a ball in right field.
So, deja vu?
it is going to be the same thing.
There you go. Well, the Braves and the Mets are tied for that final wild card spot at 81 and 68, and we'll see how they fare against the Dodgers tonight. Keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida. We had a lot of great football games on the air this last Saturday, and I don't know if you guys got the opportunity to tune in to the LSU South Carolina game, but my goodness, what a fun football game that was. And in all reality, I forget the quarterback's name off the top of my head because Robbie Ashford ended up coming in, but they really didn't have an answer for his arm nor his mobility. But once he hurt that ankle there at the end of the first half, LSU kind of settled in. But there was a couple of moments in that game where Brian Kelly's cheeks, his entire face rather, was matching his purple shirt.
Yeah, I mean, this was one we had kind of talked about this earlier in the week on the Coach Hale show last week, and we were going through, and I thought LSU would win that, but I knew it was going to be a hard-fought battle.
Yeah.
It was one of those games where I would have felt better about South Carolina had they not dominated the week before, because they're one of those teams that's all over the place, and they don't string good results together.
Right.
It's just weird. But now LSU did exactly what they needed to do, which was get a win on the road in the SEC. And that's a big deal. They didn't look great doing it, but a win is a win. And, I'm still not real sold on LSU, but I don't know. I just kind of had a feeling they had enough talent and enough guys to make plays down the stretch. But it's just a shame with South Carolina. It's like every time they either get ranked or they're about to be ranked, they lose.
Oh, yeah.
It's just brutal.
And Coach Saban on College Game Day, which who knew that Pat McAfee and Nick Saban were going to be the duo that we didn't need, or that we didn't know we needed. Ryan Mulvey posted that on Facebook. So I got to give him credit where it's due. But we got college football off to a nice start on Friday, right? With UNLV having the upset, if you want to call it that, against Kansas. And then Kansas State, a big win against Arizona. Arizona was ranked number 20. But I watched both of their two previous games, or a large chunk of their first game, and the second game not as much, but it was one of those late games, only thing on TV. And so I didn't ever feel that they were that strong outside of Fafita is a talented quarterback, but he's got maybe, I would say, the most talented wide receiver in the game in T-Mac.
That's what I was going to say. They have one superstar and a couple other players that can have good games.
Yeah.
That's just where they are right now. McMillan's great. I mean, he really is. He's going to be great at the next level, too. But, yeah, they're going to be a team that struggles if everything's not clicking with that.
Yeah.
And, teams can double them and this, that, or the other. And if you don't have something going outside of McMillan, then it's going to be a long season for you. I don't think Arizona should be that upset. I mean, that wasn't a bad loss. They would have liked to have been a little more competitive, but, it's what it is. And, Kansas State, I thought, would win the Big 12 this year. I like Utah, but Kansas State they've got a good ball club. They got a good schedule lined up for them. So they look like they're going to, maybe run the table there in the Big 12.
And Avery Johnson, the more opportunities that he sees, the more we get to see out of him. So definitely lethal with the legs. You'd like to see him kind of calm that arm down, but he's a young quarterback, and so we'll see what the future holds for Kansas State. All right, this is what always gets us off track, is my mind just going in different directions rather than going to the best and worst of the sports weekend. 850-215-6290. Call in with them, text them, leave them on Facebook, whatever you got to do. I want to hear from you for the best and worst of the sports weekend. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, the official station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. All right, let's go to Donnie Owens, who says watching FSU get beat by Memphis and then the Gators get beat by Texas A&M this past Saturday. So he had two best, and either those were worst or they were best. I don't know. I'm trying to tread lightly here because I know that it's not right to beat up on someone with a broken heart.
Yeah.
You know? But my goodness, man, there's something about it. There's something about when you, and listen, I know I did not watch very much of the FSU Memphis game until the end of the game. and I know that it's not DJU's fault, and the defense would look better if you had one thing, which is really a better offensive line that can get that run game going, and then that provides a blanket, a safety blanket, if you will, for DJU, and then it also keeps the defense from being on the field. But there's really no excuse for leaving DJU in the game so long. That's just my opinion.
You know what FSU's biggest problem is right now? It's not one person's fault.
Yeah.
If it was, it'd be easy to just say, DJ's awful.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have done this, but nobody's playing well.
Right.
Neither side of the line is playing well. The running backs, maybe you could say because they're not getting holes open, but they're not able to run the football. Maybe the back end of the defense has outplayed everybody else, but that's because it's a low bar to clear.
Right.
It's just one of those things where literally nothing has gone well. They have not coached well. The chemistry has not worked very well. The lines are not playing very well. DJ is not playing very well. The fact that the offensive coordinator has been out all these games with the suspension, I think has been a bigger deal than anybody knew it was going to be, including the coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's literally everything. And the problem is when it's everything, that's a lot of stuff to fix.
Go ahead, James.
It's hangover, man. They are still totally having a mental big old headache from drinking too much Kool-Aid on that. We need to be in the champion, not the championship, but into the playoff.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it. So they went out and had their little pity party against Georgia and just got totally dismantled, and they have not gotten their heads back.
I don't disagree with you, man. And obviously you cannot compare what the fan base says to the coaching staff, to the players, to the university officials. However, it seemed like it was coming from every which direction. And I think that that does have a role to play here. And I think also when you're an ACC team and you hear about a team who wants to sue your conference to get out because it's all about FSU and Clemson, I think that puts not that Memphis is an ACC team, but Boston College, Georgia Tech was. I think that puts a little bit more of a bigger target on your back.
It does. Ironically, the best game they've played so far this year was Georgia Tech.
Right.
And, I think that the difference since that game has been that confidence bubble has been broken. And, it was just, I don't even know. It could be hangover from last year. It could be hangover from hearing all offseason Mike Norvell talk about this is the best team he's had, the most talent he's had, this, that, or the other. You got to remember that team last year was built by transfers, but these were all a lot of them second year in that system as a transfer. That group had gelled together. A lot of them came back when they could have been drafted and wanted to go play for a championship. That's a special team that clearly had that chemistry and, a lot of good talent as well. This year's team has talent, maybe not quite to the same degree, but it clearly does not have the same chemistry yet.
Yeah.
Maybe it will in a year. I don't know. This year's looking eerily like Norvell's. Was it his first year when we had the Jackson State debacle and then everything like that?
So 2021 was the last time that they went 0-3.
Yeah.
It's only the third time that FSU's ever done this.
It's looking eerily like that,
Yeah.
although this team's a little more competitive than that team was. But it's that same feeling of just kind of woe is me. And the hard part about that is that's hard to get out of. You lose the first game, all right. We're not going to run the table again, but everything's still in front of us. You lose the second game, now you're 0-2 in the conference.
Yeah.
You lose the third game, and now you're like, playoff is probably completely out of the it's definitely out of the mix. ACC's probably out of the mix. What are we playing for? And that's a dangerous spot to have a team in. What are we playing for?
And it's a dangerous spot to be as a coach to some extent. I don't think that I do think that the propane tank is the analogy I've been using.
Fine.
No, but I'm just saying is he's not losing his job this year. Absolutely not. But you have to be thinking because how they respond to these losses is all on Norvell now. It's all on Norvell.
Well, sure it is.
So if it keeps on going down the wrong path, then it's like, well, do we need to make another adjustment to get ourselves back in to where we feel like we're back? And I don't know. It's backs against the wall to some extent for Florida State. No, I don't think his seat is even warm. But again, something's got to happen here. Sam.
What irritates me is how knee-jerk, and look, it's the nature of fandom, but how knee-jerk everybody is with, this recruit decommitted, this, that, or the other. Those guys aren't making a decision for a couple of months.
And even if they did.
And it's going to change 500 times in the best circumstances because we're dealing with 17-year-olds trying to make decisions, which we know they don't do very well. So everybody who's flipping out about, we're losing this person, you hadn't lost anything yet, and you hadn't gained anything yet.
Yeah.
Now, do you need to be aware of it and turn things around? Because if Florida State goes on a little streak, and let's say they beat Miami, which is possible, a huge win, then all of this momentum is back and everything turns around long before your signing day. So we need to be a little bit careful about worrying too much and making too many snap decisions based on, oh my God, a 17-year-old said he's decommitting when that word doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, good point. Ryan Warren says not fair to put the woes of this year's team onto last year's team, the majority of which are gone.
That's right.
But I don't think that you were necessarily saying that this is happening because of last year. But I think that there is such a thing as the chemistry of a program and where your mindset is. And so that's why I do think that what James said right there was fair about the hangover. Is it the team? No. But there's something within the program right now that I do, and I believe in Norvell. I do think that he's a good coach. And I really want to see them find their way out of this hole rather than continuing to slump. You can have these situations, right, where you go 0-3 and you can bounce back from it, and you can salvage your season to the extent of bowl game. You can salvage your season to the extent of, all right, now our possible recruits aren't going to leave or are going to want to sign on with Florida State because it's like we're trending in the right direction. But if you just let all of that go and you go 5-7, even at that point, and who knows if that's even a legitimate possibility right now because we've got to see more from this Florida State team. Ryan says he agrees to disagree. He agrees with Coach Haddad's take, and that's absolutely fine. And that's exactly why we have different voices on the show. Let's move on here. I think we've got another one. We'll bounce back and forth from college football and the NFL. Best of the weekend. The Vikings are 2-0. The worst, the Bengals lose by 1 point. So let's start here with the Vikings. 2-0, beating the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, it was in Minnesota, but still we saw in week 1, even without CMC, that the 49ers are going to be a force to be reckoned with. That is, CMC now on the IR, so he's going to have to miss a minimum of 4 games. We'll see how that all ends up playing out. But I'm just happy for Sam Darnold as a guy who's always said when he was with the Jets, he's not showing it right there, and he didn't really show it with the Panthers, but I think that he's got kind of what it takes, and now that he's got a decent offensive line and a phenomenal wide receiver, we're starting to see it out of him.
Well, the Vikings for the last 4 or 5 years have seemed like that team that whichever way the ball bounces, they're always right in every game, and then some years, like last year, I think there were a lot of expectations the ball would bounce the wrong way. Everything's working for them this year. And, that's good. I mean, San Francisco, everybody's, CMC's out. Oh, my God. Mason ran for 100 yards.
Yeah.
They've still got weapons. Brock did throw, I think, 2 interceptions yesterday. But, Minnesota's they've got a lot of good veteran players. They've got good skill players. Darnold's not making mistakes. And like I said, literally the ball's just bouncing the right way for him. And hopefully that continues. If you're a Vikings fan, it's going to make that division a heck of a lot more exciting down the stretch.
Yeah. It really is. The Lions, they had some clock gaffes yesterday, or a clock gaffe yesterday, kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit, but that's the nature of the game, right? Yeah. And that's what separates the really good teams from the not so good teams, because in the NFL, there's maybe 2, 3, 4 bad teams, Titans, Giants, and the Titans, I've just given them a hard time because the defense is honestly surprising.
The line is still bad. It was what I was worried about. That was the area they did not address in the offseason. I know they drafted J.C. Latham, but this is a young kid, and he'll be fine, but he's not what they need yet. And it's the Titans. They're killing me. The thing that's so miserable is they could have won both of those games.
Right. That's what.
Like if they were the Panthers, okay, we're just bad.
Yeah.
But they could have won both of those games, and then they did Titan things, and they're 0-2. So.
Oh, I've talked about it on the Inside Drive. We'll leave that one alone, but I'm sure we'll come back to it at some point in time because you know how we have to end our Monday shows.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely doing it today.
Chiefs and the Bengals, though, that 1 point win for the Chiefs, 1 point loss, as Professor Plum put it, and Harrison Butker getting the opportunity to kick the game winner after that final pass interference call. Your thoughts, Coach Brian?
The interference call, I hate it, but it was interference.
Yeah.
I mean, he was there early, and it's what it is. I hate that so many plays come down to that. One of my worst of the week is Jamar Chase's outburst. It didn't cost him the game.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't be doing that as a professional.
Right.
That's a thing you do in college when you're a kid. And so that's no good. The thing that I was most impressed with in that game, and the announcers, God bless them, they were on this. The confidence they had in a kicker to make a 50-plus yard field goal at the end of the game, that they just ran it right in the middle. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
With all those weapons, in the old days, you try and get 10, 12, 15 yards to make it an easier field goal. They knew, we've got Harrison Butker. We feel like he's better than 70% to make this from 50 plus.
They paid him like it.
So we're going to run it just right up the middle, take care of the ball, and let our kicker do it for us. And the confidence to do that is outstanding. So I was impressed by that, the fact that they actually did that in that settings.
Well, and then you go back to the 3rd and 7, right? And I believe Rashee Rice catches a completion over the middle, which would have been a first down. Boop, whistle, bring that back.
There were so many whistles in that game.
Yeah, there's
so many.
There's been a nice uptick in those across all sports. But best of the weekend for Ryan Ward. That was a great game, though. And I think, there's, for an 0-2 team like the Bengals, I don't think that there's that much to worry about for them.
They've been 0-2 the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's just kind of they're slow out of the gate. I think Burrow looks better than last year.
Yeah.
So certainly he was dealing with injuries last year, but I'm more bullish on him. The problem is all of the drama with Chase and with Higgins and all like that can destabilize a locker room.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that if I'm the Bengals, but no, those guys are still good. So you can't turn a blind eye to the Bengals because look at the rest of that division. The Browns are average at best. We know the Steelers aren't going to continue. What are they, 1-1 now? No, they're 2-0 now.
The Steelers are 2-0 with one touchdown on the year.
They're a week 2-0. The Ravens are 0-2 for crying out loud, and they're probably the class of the division. So that division's still wide open. So Bengals aren't going anywhere.
There you go. Well, one more real quick. We won't have time to discuss it, but we'll start with this one again at 4:40 because we've got RJ Starcevic coming up next. But best of the weekend for Ryan Warren is Saints taking down the Cowboys big. I think that was huge for this area. And then the worst is still Will Levis. Oh, and he's an Eagles fan, so Monday Night Football, he still gets to look forward to his team in a battle of the Birds. But we're going to take a few left turns when we get back. Actually, I think we were going left and right because we were at Watkins Glen yesterday afternoon. So we've got RJ Starcevic when we return. Keep it locked in to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're taking the inside drive.
Okay, front nine's over, so now I'm going to play better. Or, I hope I keep playing better on the back nine. It's this preconceived things that we stick in our head, and it's
you eat a triple cheeseburger at the turn, and then all of a sudden,
cheeseburger
and then all of a sudden it's like your balance is off.
Well, yeah, because you just added a bunch of counterweight.
Middays 11 to 1. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday afternoon. The rest of the day, a possibility of thunderstorms and sprinkles in 81 with a light breeze coming out of the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour. For tonight, a mixture of some clouds and possible thunderstorms and a low near 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny in the morning but otherwise scattered thunderstorms and a high around 82. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore portable building dealer, Panama City.
The Braves have battled through a lot this season, and now the battle turns to the playoffs as the Braves try to lock up their spot in October.
Swung on and rocked down the left field line. Rolling down the line all the way to the wall. 2-1 Atlanta here in the fourth.
Tonight, the Braves close out this huge series in Atlanta as they get one more game against Mookie Betts and the Dodgers live from Truist Park.
Braves coverage begins at 6 after the Afternoon Underdogs. First pitch 6:20. Your home for the Braves, ESPN Northwest Florida.
He doesn't live paycheck to paycheck. He lives transaction to transaction. I need about $350. David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Taking your $3.50 donations at Venmo. It's at David Hayes Jr. So I'll appreciate tree fitted, baby. Can't live paycheck to paycheck if you're still living transaction to transaction. And for me, I think it's a little more minute than that at penny to penny. But you are listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, home of the 4-0 Mosley Dolphins, who got a big win against Navarre, which for the first quarter I was gaffing their name for a while because their logo is so similar to the Buccaneers, so I was calling them the Navarre Bucks. And then about first quarter, I'm like, wait, that's wrong. It's the Navarre Raiders. But Mosley got a 36-7 win, and they will be at home against Escambia this Friday for a 7 p.m. kickoff. But Coach Brian Haddad, I believe that you're going to be leading us up to that call with the pregame show with Coach Andy Siegel, right?
Yeah, I will. We've really had a good time doing this. It's been a lot of fun
listening to
This has been a fun season for football in this area. I mean, it's, as soon as you think you know what's going on, you get a little curveball. Other than Mosley looks really, really good, everybody else is playing good football. It's just, when good football teams meet each other, you don't know how it's going to pan out. Case in point, this Arnold South Walton game. That thing could have gone either way, and, it ended up going South Walton's way there at the end. So a lot of good stuff going on with high school football in this area. And let me tell you, the ability to pick Coach Andy Siegel's brain going into this is just phenomenal, because if you've been listening to our pregame shows, he's calling almost everything to a T going into the weekend.
That man is, you as well, but he's a national treasure.
Oh,
man.
no doubt.
And the amount of people he knows and the name drops he could have and then the stories he can give, you would really need a 4-hour show with him every single week. And a dump button, no doubt. But let's get to what this segment is all about, and that is taking some left and right turns in this case here with RJ Starcevic. RJ, my man, what is going on?
Yeah, left and right turns this past weekend. We're hanging out sunny day down here, down in South Florida, and ready to unpack some road course action.
There you go. Well, let's dive into it. One of our best and worst of the weekends was from Ryan Warren, who kind of made an amendum there. His second best, and then he changed it to the first because it was an incredible finish, was that last lap passed by Chris Buescher. Tell me your best and worst of that race from Watkins Glen.
Yeah, my best has certainly got to be that finish. Got to agree with him there. Chris Buescher, he gets moved out of the way on the final restart. SVG comes on through, and then Chris Buescher goes up and gets him back. SVG made a rare mistake, and C. Buescher was able to get the win. So that was definitely my favorite part of the weekend. And I'd say the worst of the weekend's got to be the opening lap. I mean, we wadded up almost 10 cars on the opening lap. We didn't even make it through. Ryan Blaney's out on the first lap. Playoff driver there. Denny Hamlin's day pretty much was over on the opening lap. He still managed to get a 23rd place finish by just nursing around the race car. I don't know how they did it, but that would certainly be my low of the weekend, man. Lap one of a long race on a road course, and we're tearing up race cars. It's not good.
Yeah, no doubt. So SVG was there in the lead. Give us a recap of this race and how you felt about Chris Buescher coming out on top here in the NASCAR playoffs.
Yeah, this race had its comers and goers, and obviously wrecks. So many problems for playoff guys, which kind of speaks volumes of who was up front during this race, and that was Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen. They really controlled the race for the majority of the time, all the way up there until the end, really, when SVG was unable to hold the lead there at the end. So I mentioned Ryan Blaney getting wrecked out on the opening lap. Denny Hamlin gets damage on the opening lap. William Byron, Brad Keselowski, all guys that crashed as well. Tyler Reddick was also involved in an incident, so it was a terrible day for playoff drivers, but a great day for non-playoff drivers. There was one playoff driver in the top 9 of the entire finishing order, which has never happened before in the history of the playoffs. But like we were just talking about, it all came down to an incredible one-on-one finish between Chris Buescher and Shane Van Gisbergen. A lot of people would give the edge there to SVG being the road course guy. His win percentage, obviously, in the next-gen car on road courses, very high, winning in his first career start, but he missed the bus stop there on the final lap. Chris Buescher comes on in. They trade a little paint, and SVG was unable to get back to the 17 car, who collects his first win of the season. Just a little too late as far as chasing the championship, right? Missed the playoffs by a tiny bit. Now they get the win, so I'm sure that hurts a lot. But definitely still a lot of positive things to look out for that RFK 17 team.
Now, does the fact of the minimal amount of playoff drivers finishing here in the top 10, does that speak to maybe they shouldn't be utilizing road courses here in the playoffs, or what's your opinion on that? I know we kind of spoke about that at length last Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I think a road course in a playoff like Watkins Glen, as traditional it is, I don't mind it being there. I think it really speaks more volumes towards just what NASCAR is today, or at least the Cup Series. You see these late restarts, and with stages being involved in everything, you bunch up the field so much more often, right? The only real big wrecks of the day were on restarts, right? The opening lap, we have a big crash, wipes everybody out. Stage restarts, we have incidents, and then obviously when we get into overtime, that's when everybody just decides to send it 3 and 4 wide and play bumper cars, and there everybody goes. So, I mean, it certainly was a race where SVG and Ross Chastain were the class of the field, non-playoff drivers, being able to get up there and make it happen. But I think it just speaks to the parity of the field this year, because honestly, we've seen some of the same outcomes at races that weren't road courses this year. You can think back to Nashville, where we just had absolute chaos, 5 overtime restarts, and the whole finishing order was just jumbled up. So I think I think being at Watkins Glen certainly can play a part of it, but I think it's more so just speaks to kind of what the series is today, and that's craziness.
Yeah, there you go, which I myself enjoy chaos, so I think that's a good thing, and I'm always down for a good finish, regardless if the playoff drivers are a part of that finish or not. James Kelly chiming in. He wants to know, what do you think the number 9 car needs to do to have a chance to make it to the Final Four in the playoffs?
I think just continue to be consistent. Obviously, a win. I think I feel like they definitely need to get a win here in the next 8 races or 7 races to be able to guarantee their spot in that Final Four. But Chase Elliott and the Hendrick team have been atop the point standings by just being consistent. One win, but so many races where they've been top 5, top 10. Now, is that going to get you into the Final Four? You don't know. You got to be a winner really to ensure that you get there. But obviously, 30 points above the cut line going into Bristol, they'll be good for the next round, and I'm sure they'll continue to be strong as the playoffs go on.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Northwest Florida. We are on the line with the creator of the Motor Stardom Instagram page. Make sure to go give him a follow and help him get his followers up. I mean, he's sitting at 37.2 thousand of them things, but
that's all.
Let's keep on driving it up. Just remember, guys, RJ is only 20 years old, so you'll be hearing a lot from him here in the future in this world of NASCAR. Let's see, who was a driver? One of my favorite questions to ask you is when it comes to expectations, who's a driver that had low expectations going into that day and had an impressive finish? I'm going to assume that would be the race winner.
Yeah, I would certainly give that to the race winner, Chris Buescher, for sure. But if we're going to go outside the box here and talk about somebody else, give another shout-out here. How about Carson Hocevar finishing in the third position for Spire Motorsports? And if you look at the whole day for Spire Motorsports, and that's Hocevar in the 77, Zane Smith in the 71, Corey LaJoie in the 7, they all finished top 8, which I believe, I'm going to assume is a first for that entire organization as a 3-car team. So that is incredible for them to have a shot at the win and get a double top 5. Carson Hocevar drove the wheels off that thing at the end. He started 29th and finished in the third position. I'd say that's a great day.
What about on the flip side of that, a driver who had high expectations but maybe ended up with a disappointing Sunday?
Yeah, I got to say Tyler Reddick. Obviously not in a position where they have to gain a ton. He's going to be 30 above the cut line going to the next race. Unless something totally abysmal happens, he'd be out. But expected them to be a little bit better. Wasn't super fast over the weekend, and then just got caught up in some messes that weren't their own completely. And they were just never able to rebound, finish in the 27th position. So certainly expected them to be better.
All right, when we're looking at the playoffs right now, what do we have? One more race before we cut down to just 12?
Yes, sir. One more race, Bristol night race. What a way to end the first round here, and then we'll be shooting we'll cut this field from 16 to 12.
All right. So who will be after next week's race at Bristol? Who's going to be on the outside looking in?
Yeah, I've had my first pick there, Harrison Burton, 20 points back. I don't think he's going to be able to make up that ground. I think he will be out. Brad Keselowski definitely has me very worried, 12 points out. I don't think he's going to be able to make that gap, and I think he'll be out. And this is something that I really don't want to say, but Martin Truex Jr. and that team, they have not been hitting on all cylinders at all recently. They needed a big day at Watkins Glen. Didn't get it. 14 points below the cut line. I don't think they'll make that up either. Sitting 13th right now, Denny Hamlin, 6 points below the cut line. Didn't think we'd be talking about this going into Bristol, but I do think, he was the Bristol winner in the spring. I think they'll be competing here in the fall. I think he's going to make it above the cut line, but then with that, who's going to go below? Choosing between Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs, they're both +6, but Chase Briscoe and that team have been incredible lately. He finished up in the top 10 at Watkins Glen. Won Darlington, obviously, a few weeks ago. Ty Gibbs, they've been a little inconsistent. I think Ty Gibbs, unfortunately, is the odd man out there. So I'm going to go Ty Gibbs, Brad Keselowski, MTJ, and Harrison Burton are our 4 out after this round.
Battle of the Yodas. Well, what about Xfinity? How did that series, how did their race go for the Xfinity series this Saturday?
Yeah, it was dominated by a new name in his first career start, Mr. Connor Zilisch over there, who has been a phenom. He's in one of NASCAR, if not the top prospect in NASCAR. He goes over to the Truck Series earlier in the year and makes his first start at Circuit of the Americas, wins the pole, doesn't get the race win, but winning the pole in your first start is, pretty impressive. So he comes over here to the Xfinity Series, driving for Dale Jr.'s team, number 88, wins the pole in his first start, just like he did in the Truck Series. So how do you double that? What's the only way to improve upon that? Well, you go out there and win the race. And not just a race that came easy. We had multiple overtime restarts in the Xfinity Series. He had to fend off A.J. Allmendinger. Sheldon Creed gets another second-place finish. He had to fend off Shane Van Gisbergen as well, and save enough fuel to make it to the end. I thought with all those cautions, he wasn't going to make it there, but somehow he saves enough fuel to get to the end and then just totally gaps the field on one of the final restarts. So big shout out to Connor Zilisch, who literally just turned 18 recently. He is going to be a huge part of the future of this sport. Obviously a road course ace. We'll see what he's able to cook up on the ovals when he goes full-time next year in the Xfinity Series, but obviously super impressive to do what he did.
Yeah, pretty cool getting it done in that 88 car too, which special to anyone who liked Dale Jr. Joey Logano was 18 years old and 21 days. Connor Zilish right behind him at 18 years, 1 month, and 23 days, and then right behind him is Chase Elliott. So with him being in the midst of a group of names like that, that's great company. Do you think that this guy has what it takes to become a name in the NASCAR circuit, or is it because he's more of a road course guy that we'll just have to see how it plays out?
I think I've seen enough of his oval starts. He's been racing the ARCA Series. It's hard to totally evaluate talent there just by the competitiveness of the field, but I think he's seasoned enough as a driver to where he will be able to come in straight to the Xfinity Series, which I think is the perfect place to just kind of shoot into, to really test yourself as a driver. SVG did it this year, but I think this guy's on a whole nother level. Obviously, he's super young, so he has so much time to learn, and that's what people are doing when they are 18 years old. So I think he's going to be a tremendous talent. He's a signed Trackhouse driver, so obviously, Trackhouse 3 cars, he's going to be knocking on the door. That's going to push guys like SPG and Daniel Suarez and Ross to perform the next few years.
Absolutely. Again, you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And we've got RJ Starcevic on the line with us, and he runs the Motor Stardom, not just runs it, he is the creator of the Motor Stardom page on Instagram, MotorStardom. Go give that page a follow. Let's talk about what Martin Truex Jr. says, since I'm over here looking at your Instagram page. He says he just don't really understand how guys can call themselves the best drivers in the world when they just drive through everyone on restarts at the end of these races. Your thoughts on that particular quote?
Yeah, MTJ was disgruntled and he was talking schmack, that's for sure. And I have to kind of somewhat get behind him on that. Obviously, I do, as a NASCAR guy, want to look at our field and do truly believe that most of our guys in the field can go over to other professions and do exceptionally well. I think we have an incredibly talented group of drivers, but I think just the atmosphere of NASCAR, kind of going back to what we were talking about. Is it the Glen? Is it a road course in the playoffs, or is it just the playoffs in NASCAR in general right now? I think that's just what we've seen so much more lately than before. We have more cautions, we have more restarts, and because 23rd doesn't matter maybe as much as it did before, right? It's win, get a top 5. Everybody just sends it in, 4 and 5 wide into the corner on these restarts, just playing bumper cars with each other. And I think knowing that these cars are a little bit more durable, that leads people to doing so. I think it's just a result of kind of the product that we've created today. It's hard to describe in exact words, but I think what Martin Truex Jr. is saying isn't totally untrue. These restarts have certainly gone out of hand. We've got the most overtime restarts this year, I think, ever. I think that's a record. So clearly we have had cautions at the end of these races, and we've had restarts where people are like, well, I've run 25th all day. Let's see what I can do to make it 19th. And then that causes everybody to wreck and all hell to break loose. So I definitely think he's spitting a little bit, as they'd say.
Well, we are in Bristol this coming Sunday for the final round of 16 drivers, and then we'll cut it to 12 for the next 3 races. At Bristol, let's start with the Xfinity Series. Give me your top 3 drivers to keep an eye on.
Hell yeah, man. Xfinity Series at Bristol, one of my favorite races of the year on the CW network this week. They'll be on that for the next 8 weekends. My 3 picks, I got to go with my man Cole Custer. I think he's going to come out there and put on a clinic over there in the short track. I think A.J. Allmendinger has been good there in the past. I'll throw him in there. He's somebody that needs to make a statement and get a victory. And why not throw this guy in here? This might be his final Xfinity Series start. So make sure you get to watch him on Friday night. That's right, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in the 88 car and possibly his final start. We'll see if he comes back. He always does 1 to 2 races a year, but he says this could possibly be his final start over there in Xfinity, which definitely going to want to check that out. He was leading laps last year. I think he can get it done this year.
So the Xfinity race is going to be on Friday night.
Yes, so everything is the night before. You got trucks and ARCA on Thursday night, competing with Amazon Prime football over there. And then, Xfinity Friday night, and then the Cup Series Bristol Bass Pro Night race on Saturday night.
Let's go. Let's get your top 3 drivers for the Cup Series, RJ.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge race, a lot of stakes here. I'm going with somebody like Kyle Larson to go out there and get it done at Bristol. I'm going to have to throw in all reliable here, Denny Hamlin. I think he's against the 8 ball. Obviously, they don't need a win. They just need a good day. But, he's just the kind of guy that I think is going to go out there and just win the race and really make a statement. And then kind of a dark horse non-playoff pick here. Really fast at Watkins Glen, pretty fast at Darlington, too. I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. I think he's going to go out there, have a big day. Maybe not a win, but a solid top 5 or even a playoff spoiler would be huge for him and that team.
Can't wait for it, man, and I'm definitely going to be trying to make it my best effort to at least watch the recap of the Xfinity race, just because I've got a high school football game to call right here in Panama City, so I won't be able to keep a steady eye on that, but I'll go back and maybe even watch the full race, because that was my favorite driver before he retired, and now it's old Denny Hamlin, old reliable, as you just called him. But RJ, as always, a lot of fun talking with you. You are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this sport and really sports in general. It's fun talking sports with you and NASCAR. So thanks for giving us your time. We'll catch up with you next Monday, my man.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, and see you guys next week.
Y'all head over to Instagram right now and go give the page Motor Stardom a follow. RJ is just 20 years old, and you can hear that he does not sound like he's 20 years old. Great stuff there, and we're going to take a quick time out and come back with some best and some worst of the sports weekend, and you can send yours in to 850-215-6290.
It's here. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app version 2.0. Now featuring ultra high fidelity. You'll feel like you're in the game. Plus more opportunities to win weekly prizes from local businesses when you click it to win it. Download the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app today at Google Play or the Apple Store.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday afternoon. The rest of the day, a possibility of thunderstorms and sprinkles, and 81 with a light breeze coming out of the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour. For tonight, a mixture of some clouds and possible thunderstorms and a low near 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny in the morning, but otherwise scattered thunderstorms and a high around 82. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Life can take us so many places. And at Panama City Toyota, we're here to make sure every drive is worth every minute.
Maybe you want a fun, fuel-efficient car for everyday driving. Or you need a dependable vehicle that really gets the job done. Sometimes it's all about answering the call of the wild. And when you're ready to shop, reserve your vehicle online and choose your options. Or we'll help you in person, even if you started the process at home.
Whatever works for you, always works for us.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601, 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Saturday, Auburn football is back.
Down the sideline. Oh, what a catch. Oh, what a catch by Perry Thompson.
The Tigers host the Arkansas Razorbacks in the SEC opener.
He looks that way, he throws, and it's intercepted at the 15-yard line. Antonio Kite.
Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Central, only on your home for the Tigers.
ESPN Northwest Florida. War Eagle.
Who was hired? Who was fired? Trades, drafts, and playoffs. We're talking about it.
That trade, when it was made, was the right trade.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
A little bit of breaking news from the National Football League. The injury woes for, I almost said St. Louis, for the Los Angeles Rams
They're
continue.
going to be throwing to us two here in a minute.
Hey, there you go. How's your speed looking these days?
As bad as it looks.
Cooper Kupp is going to be out multiple weeks with a, hamstring injury?
Ankle
injury. That is not good news after you already lost Puka Nacua, so tough stuff. What do you got, James? You're looking inquisitive.
Bryce Young, we talked about it yet?
We haven't. I just asked Brian that when he came in. Yeah, Bryce Young being benched in favor of the Red Rifle. And you had an interesting take on this,
call it mortgaged, because basically that's what that whole organization has done now, is just mortgage itself.
I was thinking it might actually be the best thing in the world for Bryce, just as a reset. Obviously right now it's not working and he's pressing and he's running for his life. And look, what I loved about him at Alabama, because he was running for his life a lot at Alabama too, surprisingly, I always thought he was the most accurate quarterback I'd ever seen throwing on the run. But there's something off about this, and he's clearly feeling the pressure. Look, these guys, they have Twitter. They read all their press clippings, if you want to go into the old school of it. And I think just a reset is not the worst thing in the world. As fans, too often we think, if they bench him, that means you can never come back. Nonsense.
Look at Malik Willis, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't love that as a parallel, but I think I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Bryce Young as an NFL quarterback yet. Okay. I understand people who are. I'm just not. I think a reset might be the best thing in the world, both for the Panthers and for Bryce Young, and just kind of let things settle, let him develop a little bit, kind of reset, and who knows? Maybe his future is with the Panthers and it gets better. Maybe his future is with someone else, or maybe he has no NFL future. I don't know. But right now, something needs to change, and maybe sitting him down and just resetting might be the best thing in the world for him.
I'm not going to argue with Brian on that one. It's kid just ain't getting it right now, and there's no reason to go out there and just literally, one, destroy him mentally, and two, destroy him physically from what he's already getting. If he can sit back, watch some games maybe even do some reps with the second squad so he can literally just even watch the first squad pro guys going at it on the field.
Slow the game down.
Sometimes, if you can look at it from a different angle, you go, oh, I see what that is now.
I'm always a big proponent of that. Like, if I was the Bears, not saying I would have went with Justin Fields, but I would have brought in a veteran to maybe let him get his feet wet. But you can't do that with a number 1 overall pick.
I think you can. It's just it isn't happening that much anymore.
Right.
I'd never liked taking these guys and throwing them right into the fire game one. I've never liked it for their development. I think it's tough. There's a lot of on-the-job learning that you have to do, and in the age of social media, it's out there for all to see. I think it's always better. Look, I don't think you need to do the full Aaron Rodgers where you sit for that many years.
Right.
But it worked out pretty well for Aaron. I mean, I just think having the ability to get your feet under you a little bit, get settled into the entirety of the NFL lifestyle is a good thing for you. And look, not everybody's in that situation, but I think this reset might really work out for Bryce.
And let's face it, when you're drafted first overall, that means you're going to a bad team.
Yep. 100%. And that's, you look at the Panthers, and Bryce Young doesn't have any time. He can barely see above the line, but that's not an excuse, right? It's just what it is. And so I do like the reset here. I'll also say, though, as a guy who wants to see him succeed, there are times when he does escape that pocket, and you're just like, what are you doing with the ball, man? Making
that's what I mean. He's
exactly.
pressing.
Yeah.
He is definitely pressing.
And when your team is garbage, it makes it easier to press. So.
But it's that same mindset of, we're coddling these multimillionaires too much, in the sense that a coach needs to be able to grab this kid and just sometimes say, you know what, today's just not our day. Like, I'm not sitting you down because I don't think you can play anymore. It's just not our day. Take a break, this, that, or the other. And, look, if Clayton Kershaw takes the mound and he gets shelled in the second inning, they're going to yank him. It doesn't mean he can't pitch again. So I know it's not a one-for-one comparison, but we've got to get out of this mindset of the instant you get pulled from a game, you can never play football again.
Right.
Just reset, let's see if we can do so. And maybe we can't, but we got to find out.
I mean, Andy Dalton is in no way, shape, or form the future of the Panthers.
He's a perfect placeholder.
He's a great insurance policy is what he is.
I agree with that, and I also love the take here. You were talking about parallels, and I facetiously brought up Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield.
Love what he's doing.
Right, and he got to start with the Browns, didn't work out, goes to the Rams, sniffed success for a little bit, and then comes to the Buccaneers, and now, I mean, has...
all right.
It changed my mind, at least.
Did it really not work out with the Browns? I thought it was working okay. Now, they had an opportunity with Deshaun Watson, who is a better athlete, who had been playing better, and... Look, he had, his issues, but they thought he was going to play. I'm not so sure the thing with Baker wasn't. I think he's playing better now.
OBJ's dad.
I think he's playing better now.
Yeah.
But I thought Baker played pretty well in Cleveland.
I think that he left some to be desired a little bit, and I think
it may
that's
have been that the whole relationship had come to an end.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm saying, like that it didn't work out, not 100%, and I would say it's less than 40% on Baker's behalf why it didn't work out, because you got to give these young guys time. However, if you've got we'll just say wide receivers. I was going to go with divas, but we'll go with wide receivers.
No, wide receiver divas. Yes.
Who you feel is more important to your franchise than what your franchise quarterback is, then you got to move on at that point. And the whole Deshaun Watson thing, I don't even know if it's fair to say that Deshaun was outplaying Baker Mayfield.
Well, I think they saw what they did is they had a gamble opportunity with a huge upside. There was a huge upside in that deal. There was. But it was a huge risk as well. And we're seeing it probably wasn't a good play right now.
But
sometimes the situation, sometimes getting Baker out of there and getting him in Tampa maybe was a better look.
It was better for Baker for
sure. I'm
sure.
going to bring up Favre again. A lot of people forget Brett Favre wasn't drafted by the Packers. He was drafted by the Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons we would have never known of Brett Favre because it wasn't the right situation for him. The Packers was.
Right.
Maybe that's the way this thing with Baker goes. I thought he played all right in Cleveland, but
I think Baker does better. Baker wants to live in that spotlight. I think he's one of those dudes that likes the spotlight, wants to really relish in it, but I don't know how great he does with it. I think he gets too distracted by that light in his eyes. Because when he was in Cleveland, he was doing commercials.
Sure.
He was the guy. Everybody knew Baker in town. Then he goes to L.A., and, everything's bigger in L.A., and nobody gave any kind of care that Baker Mayfield was in Los Angeles. And then he gets to Tampa. They let him know, okay, this is your job. You don't got to worry about cameras. You don't got to worry about making commercials because we're Tampa and we're kind of going to do a rebuild because we just won the Super Bowl.
Right.
But now he's just going, you know what? I'll just take it.
And I think even more so, he's coming on the heels of the best quarterback to ever do it, and Tom Brady, and those are big shoes to fill.
Well, and I'm not going to make Tampa fans happy here, and look, I'm one of them, but Tampa's a lower profile team.
Yeah.
It just is. And, I mean, when Brady's there, it's different, but it's a lower profile team, and so Baker cannot have to be commercial guy. And look, I understand the Browns aren't the sexiest team in the league,
right?
But it's an old school team. And, he was probably getting a little bit too distracted by the things that he won't have to do in Tampa.
I like that sentiment, man. And obviously having a guy like Mike Evans never
No, but
never hurts,
I love how scrappy guys like Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr are.
Yeah.
I just like them. They're gamblers. They're going to, make you shake your head sometimes, but man, they are the guys you want to go to war with.
I mean, how about that rebound? And I know that this season is so very young, but a lot of Saints fans, I think, counted Derek Carr out after last year. They've been counting Dennis Allen out. I'm still a person who, I think, for them to get in Clint Kubiak, that's been the game changer, right? And I don't care who you're playing. If you're putting up 40 points in consecutive weeks, that's impressive. What do they got? Maybe 3 or 4 punts on the entire year to this point? I mean, that's also very impressive. So, and I'm a guy who, when Derek Carr was at the Raiders, he never had a good defense. He goes over to the Saints. Saints typically always have a good defense. I think last year was a little bit of a lull for them, but the Derek Carr resurgence, if you will, and I hope that it continues, has been a lot of fun to keep an eye on.
I don't think there's any question about it. And look, Football, the NFL is fun when the Saints are good. They were such a long-suffering, the bags over the head, the who dat, but the Saints, you had the whole, Cinderella story with them winning the Super Bowl, coming out of Katrina and everything, and Drew Brees. But the Saints, when they're playing well, the NFL just to me is more fun, especially where we live. I mean, this is. It may not be full-on Saints country, but it's pretty darn close. And so, I say, who dat for them Saints? Keep it going.
There you go. Well, we are going to go ahead and get to a break. And when we get, I'm going to go put a hat on. I'm tired of looking at my reflection over here. And I'm not talking about seeing myself on the camera, just seeing the lights bouncing off of my head. All right, Steve Barnes coming up next to kick off hour number 2. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs.
Ready to go under the lights? Mosley Dolphin football is back.
Wide open down the sideline.
ESPN Northwest Florida brings you live play-by-play coverage all season long. With David Hayes.
Touchdown, Mosley Dolphin.
And Kyle Wright.
You take the top off the defense, and the interception turns into points for the Mosley offense.
Exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday afternoon. The rest of the day, a possibility of thunderstorms and sprinkles, and 81 with a light breeze coming out of the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour. For tonight, a mixture of some clouds and possible thunderstorms and a low near 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny in the morning, but otherwise scattered thunderstorms and a high around 82. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
You owe the IRS back taxes, and dealing with the IRS stresses you out. Fortunately, IRS Problem Relief can help you resolve back taxes and represent you to the IRS so you don't have to face them alone. Last year, IRS Problem Relief saved clients drowning in tax debt, and IRS Problem Relief is a local company right here in Panama City, not some 800 number where you can never talk to the same person twice. Put those problems behind you so you can focus on moving forward. Call Edward Corey with IRS Problem Relief, 850-784-8176. For a free consultation, call Edward Corey with IRS Problem Relief. It's 850-784-8176 or visit irsproblemrelief.com.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Braves have battled through a lot this season, and now the battle turns to the playoffs as the Braves try to lock up their spot in October.
Swung on and rocked down the left field line. Rolling down the line all the way to the wall. 2-1 Atlanta here in the fourth.
Tonight, the Braves close out this huge series in Atlanta as they get one more game against Mookie Betts and the Dodgers live from Truist Park.
Braves coverage begins at 6 after the Afternoon Underdogs. First pitch 6:20. Your home for the Braves, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Chop on, Braves fans.
That is gone!
Since 2017, your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keep making noise! Keep making noise! Yeah!
Back in the doghouse for hour number 2. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And Brian, we've got a football game tonight.
Jalen Hurts looking a little Bill Bellamy here walking into the game. A little bigger than Bill Bellamy, but do you even know who Bill Bellamy is?
I was just trying to keep my mouth shut so I don't look stupid.
I'm going to hang out over here in the senior
Hey, but
citizens
Steve Barnes is going to know here, and he's the senior writer for the rebelwalk.com. Don't forget that ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the Auburn Tigers. This Saturday, Auburn versus Arkansas, kickoff at 2:30. We should have the pregame coverage for you at 1:30 because all of my options to air games are 2:30 games. USC, Michigan, all of them are at 2:30. So the choice was easy on your number one destination for college football and the Auburn Tigers, ESPN Northwest Florida. Steve Barnes is the senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Steve, what is up, my man?
Not much. Best of the week, by the way.
Yes.
Ready?
Ready.
2 freshman quarterbacks in the state of Texas. Arch Manning, Marcel Reed. Did you know each of them have an Ole Miss connection?
Okay, let's hear the connections. We know, I think the first is obvious, but what about the latter?
Marcel Reed was a commit to Ole Miss for a calendar year, including the night before signing day. Turns to signing day, then cha-ching, goes to Texas A&M.
Sure, that cha-ching was just a Freudian slip there.
I was clearing my throat.
Texas A&M? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
And the worst last night, Braves giving up 7 in the ninth, include back-to-back-to-back homers. Brutal.
Ooh, that is brutal because I did not even have my eyes on that game until the ninth inning where I got my laptop out just to turn the game on. And when I chimed in, it was 8-2. Then Max Muncy hit the deep fly to make it 9-2 at that point. So what's your thoughts on the Braves? Do you think that they hold on to that final wild card spot, Steve?
I hate to say it, I'm a big Braves guy, but I don't think it's going to matter because there's just too many injuries.
Gotcha.
I don't think they could make a playoff run. I still want them to get there, at least to go to the wild card.
Hey, I know who Bill Bellamy is.
Okay, there we go.
I looked him up. So yeah, Steve, let's dive into it. First off, let's start with your latest article on the rebelwalk.com, where Steve is the senior writer. What about Wake Forest? Why did Wake Forest pull out of the Ole Miss game for 2025?
Really didn't give a reason. But a lot of people have announced that, after they got beat 40-6, that's when they pulled out. No, they pulled out before.
Yeah.
So it wasn't one of those things, y'all beat us that bad, we're not coming back.
Yeah.
But Lane Kiffin today, in his presser, he was pulling no punches. He said, maybe that was A.D. Curry's way of basically trying to throw us off our game.
Man, and they paid $1 million to
even $1 million
to get out of that contract.
But it puts Ole Miss in a lurch because there's a rule in the SEC. One of your out-of-conference games has to be Power 4. Well, there's no Power 4 available next year. I mean, it's just too late to find one.
I've got the solution. Pac-12 or Pac-2.
No,
they going
it's
to
like the Pac-6 now.
Yeah, they're going to the Pac-6. You can go get you a formerly Mountain West team and schedule them, and that would be Power 4, right?
It would, but their schedules are all packed up.
True.
And by the way, I don't call them the Pac-6. I call them the six-pack.
Much better.
That is
And they've got to get 2 more to be able to get back to the status they want. And I think the obvious 2 would be UNLV and Nevada. But I think they're going to do something stupid and try to go out east and get somebody.
Well, I'm actually kind of now intrigued by who they are going to replace that game with. But
it's gonna have to be a group of 5, and they're going to have to get a waiver from the SEC to do it.
Oh, okay. So would you, all right, if you're going to dive into a G5 team and you got to get the waiver and all of that good stuff, do you go with an upper echelon G5 team so that kind of helps your case a little bit, or do you go with one of the middle of the barrel, bottom of the barrel? Which direction do you go?
You go with anybody who has a date that you can play.
Okay.
Because you've just got to get a game now.
What about being the first time to ever schedule a high school team?
I think the best way to do it is find out who Wake is going to play.
Yeah.
Because whoever they're going to play had to get out of a game and play that team. That the team playing Wake got out of the game with, that team should be available. But, I mean, that could be like a Division II team, and they can't do that.
Man, this is quite the saga. Almost like I don't know how many games we've seen this year in college football where they've went down to playing 5-minute quarter, like the South Alabama game. The fourth quarter was like 5 minutes. There's been a few games like that this year.
Well, I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen a Lane Kiffin press conference where the game and the next opponent, they were talking about maybe half the time. The rest of it was, what are we going to do to get in the game next year?
My initial thought, Steve, I don't know if you've heard anything on this. I know a lot of us have been, through the last year or something, hearing about the debate between 8 and 9 conference games. My initial thought on this was maybe this has some underlyings of that. Maybe because we're starting to see a lot of these bigger non-conference matchups go away. Anything you're hearing on that, about the SEC potentially going to that 9 conference games, or do you think that's dead for a while?
I think it's dead for a while because a lot of the coaches don't want it.
Right.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got Steve Barnes on the line with us. Steve, let's go this direction, all right? We're talking about Ole Miss, and maybe they didn't talk about the game against Wake Forest, but were you disappointed at all? Was there anything that you didn't like in that 40-6 win against Wake Forest?
Yeah, they were complacent. They were sloppy. They were undisciplined. They had 11 penalties. Dart had a fumble, the first turnover of the year. Then he threw the dumbest interception probably of his career, to the point where he's coming back across the field before he gets to the sideline. Kiffin's in his helmet microphone saying, "Yeah, I saw that coming." And even Dart at the end of at his press conference in Winston-Salem said, "Yeah, that was the ugliest 650-yard performance you're ever going to see."
Well, at least, Jackson Dart and the Ole Miss Rebels hold themselves accountable to their 650-yard performances.
Well, you have to understand, in the third quarter, it was 23-6, and Wake Forest had a 4th and goal at the 4. And the defense forced an incomplete pass, so they took over at the 4, had a 96-yard drive. So instead of being 23-13, now it's 30-6.
Yeah.
So it was 4 yards away from being a 10-point game in the third quarter.
Oh, wow. That is, and that's y'all have only given up 9 points on the entire season, right?
Only team in SEC history to score over 150 and give up less than 10 in the first 3 games.
Now, does the quality of competition bother you at all?
Well, you got to play. You got to play.
Right, no doubt.
And you had your Power 4 last week, and now you get Georgia Southern this week, and then after that, they need to get it straight against Georgia Southern, because after that, Kentucky. You saw what they did Saturday night, and South Carolina at South Carolina in the daytime. You saw what they did Saturday.
Yeah, which game surprised you more, the LSU South Carolina? I guess that's such an easy layup question, right? But I didn't get to watch any of the Kentucky-Georgia game. I was at a birthday party. But, seeing the score, and we're all just kind of talking about 3-3 at the half, and final score being 13-12. Is that just a Kirby Smart knowing that his team is that much better than the Kentucky Wildcats, or what do you make of that ball game?
I think that Georgia was banged up pretty good too. So offensively, their offensive line was makeshift. Defensively, they were Georgia. So once they get healthy, I think they have a bye week this week.
They do.
So that's going to help them get healthy. They're going to be fine. And somebody asked me today, it's like, how bad is it that they're number 2 now? Nobody wins the national championship in September.
Yeah.
You can lose it, a la Florida State, but you can't win it.
A la carte there. I have no issue with Texas jumping Georgia there. They're not the defending national champion, so there's no real reason to hold them at number 1, and Texas has something that Georgia doesn't have right now, and that's a win over a ranked opponent. So do you have any argument?
No. I think Texas is better. And I mentioned, the Ole Miss thing. I had mentioned if Saturday night they had played Texas, they'd have lost by 20. They'd played Georgia, they'd probably lost by 10. They played Tennessee, they would have lost. They played Alabama, they would have lost. So you just can't play like that.
Well, let's use this opportunity to segue, and we'll just, instead of getting the whole meal, we'll just get a la Florida State here. What's wrong with them, Steve? What is wrong with the Noles?
You mean the Florida State White Sox?
Wow.
That might have been the Oh, Steve, we're here. We're not too far from Tallahassee, man. I'd like the station to stay afloat.
I have watched all 3 of Florida State's games. I've watched all 3 of Troy's games. There's one difference. They're both 0-3. There's one difference. Troy's lost 3 games. Florida State's been beaten 3 games.
Ooh.
And Florida State's problem to me is they're just waiting for failure. I mean, okay, what's going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong? It seems like that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, DJU, he probably does need to sit down, but I don't think it's his fault when he's got, it's hard to throw the ball sitting on your butt.
Mm-hmm. And Memphis was getting them, especially, again, I was watching some of the other games and just kind of chiming at my Florida State buddies, giving them some troubles. But when I did turn that game on at the end, realizing that Florida State is going to get another opportunity here to possibly win the game late in the fourth quarter, and he had no time at all. Now I also think that he held on to, especially when time is such a huge factor right there. I think that he was holding on to the ball a little bit too long as well. But it's tough when you're under duress like that.
When there's nobody open.
Yeah. Could that be one of the bigger issues, that they were so talented at wide receiver last year that they just don't have the weapons on the outside? And I honestly thought that the addition of Roydell Williams and Lawrence Toafili being there for a while, I thought that was gonna to help that run game, if not make it better, keep it to where around where it was at last year.
I mean, I have nothing to back up this, theory, but I think they dropped more passes Saturday than they did all year last season. They're dropping screen passes.
Yeah. And that makes it tough, and that also eats at your quarterback's confidence as well. And if your quarterback's not confident, you're going to have a tough go at things. So do you think it would be maybe advantageous of Mike Norvell to give a game? We talked about Bryce Young, right? A little reset for Bryce Young, possibly. Who knows? Andy Dalton could take the team by storm, and we'll see what happens. But do you think it could be advantageous for DJU to sit a game and Brock Glenn to take over, and then we make our decision from there? I mean, Alabama did it last year with Jalen Milroe.
Absolutely. Have him stand next to Norvell. Just say, okay, here, what do you tell me what you see right here? And he could coach him up on the sideline. Do that for one game.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only issue where it's slightly different in college may be that this is DJ's last year there. And it's the old adage of, I'd much rather lose with a, freshman than a senior, because the freshman's going to be back next year and learn from it. So, that's the only thing that might be, slightly different in terms of like a longer reset, certainly. But I agree with Steve. One game, get him over there, get him talking. I do think the offensive coordinator, when he comes back, that's going to help. But I think Steve summed this up beautifully at the beginning. This is a team waiting for something to go wrong. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the way it looks. It's like they're just waiting for whatever's gonna, just pop up in their way and go wrong. And golly, I mean, it's hard to play football when you're doing it like that.
Yeah.
Right. When you're looking over your shoulder saying, "Where's the Grim Reaper?"
Yeah.
It's hard to look ahead.
Well, we'll go to another team a little bit further down south here, but the Florida Gators, how long does Napier hold on? And then we'll go to the part B of that question, which I think we've spoke with you a few times about this now.
I would like to see him hold on to the bye week. I'm not sure he will, but
if they lose at Mississippi State, do you even let him back on the plane?
Well, if they lose at the Mississippi State game, how much do you think tickets are going for?
I would say you can get them for about $7.
That's what I'm guessing.
I was going to say, people might pay you to take them.
I'm going to check. I'm going to check.
I was covering a game at Arkansas State once, and we were having lunch or having breakfast with the AD, and he said, "Yeah, I was going around at the Walmart putting tickets under people's windshield wipers."
Mm-hmm.
So then I got back in my car, and I had 50 more that I took.
Yeah.
It might be one of those situations.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it looks like you can get 50-yard line, row 43 for $60.
Oh, I guarantee you can get them cheaper than that.
Yeah. This is
I
all
guarantee
StubHub,
it.
so.
Yeah.
I would hate to be a scalper this weekend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you're losing it.
Good seats for $60 though. And then looks like the
Yeah,
get
the
in
problem
price.
is you got to watch those two football teams.
Get in price looks like $10. Oh man!
I mean, I'd like to see him hang on, but I doubt he will because, I mean, the person I feel sorriest for in this situation is Scott Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing he has no pull at all, and he's the AD.
Yeah.
Because the boosters are saying, "Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing," and he's got no say in it.
Does that make this job unattractive to other potential coaches? The way that this whole situation has kind of been handled, because for the last 3 or 4 weeks, all you hear about is Napier's out, Napier's out, Napier's out.
Of course it does. I mean, I told you, how the Auburn job was not a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Florida's getting to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't win a national championship 3 years, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, though, because, look, I don't love everything Dan Mullen did at Florida. I don't love everything he did at Mississippi State either, for that matter. But you got to remember, they let him go, 7 games after he took Alabama, a team that a lot of people thought might have been one of the best teams in history, that 2020 team. He took them to their hardest game of that year and into the SEC championship game. And, so they get involved, they run him out, fair enough. With this one, I don't think either Napier or Strickland survive this year. I think both of them are going to be gone. And unfortunately, it's going to limit their pool of who they can bring in. I know everybody I love the University of Florida. I do. I know everybody likes to think that Florida is still this big-time job. The problem is, it's exactly what Steve said. It's like they watched the Auburn boosters get too involved and said, we can take this to another level.
Hold my beer.
You're going to limit your pool of attractive candidates at both AD and head football coach because of it. And
there's another problem there, too.
Yeah.
They have an interim president.
That's right. And it was the one who hired Strickland, I believe. That's right.
Are the boosters say, no, we're going to hire him. You just get out of the way.
Yeah.
So that begs the question then, Steve Barnes, senior writer for the RebelWalk.com, right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, who takes that Florida job? Can we just set the record straight here? Because everyone's saying Lane Kiffin. There's no way Lane Kiffin takes that job.
I don't think he does.
I don't either.
I think the fact that you said think, you don't think, I think that might.
But if you're Florida, you absolutely throw the moon at it. I agree with that.
The thing is, the boosters saying it's $26 million to buy out Napier.
Mm-hmm.
We got that, no problem. Okay, don't forget the 36 to 40 it's going to take to buy out Kiffin.
That's right.
Okay, he's going to want to bring Golden and Weiss with him. You're going to have to buy out their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to buy out the 2 contracts of the Florida coordinators. So you're looking at about $80 million, and they're thinking, okay, we can do that. Okay, but now you got to have money to pay the new guys.
Mm-hmm. And the NIL.
Yeah. So I don't think you have that kind of money. But, the Florida boosters just sort of remind me of, we're the best in the world. Nobody can ever beat us because we have this and this and this, but then it doesn't happen. And so they got to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kiffin takes it because, who wants that kind of pressure with the boosters? He doesn't have that in Oxford. He's got a collective in Oxford that's doing pretty well. And I saw a story on him. I forgot where I saw it. It might have been Mississippi Today, to where he is so content right now. He's never been more content now than any time of his life, to where the man hasn't had a drink in over 4 years.
Yeah.
He does yoga every day. His kids are living with him. They love Oxford. Why is he going to uproot all that to go to the pressure cooker that's Gainesville?
Right, to go back and have to do what he's been doing for the last 3 years in Oxford. I mean, he's in the age of the 12-team playoff. I don't think he needs to leave Oxford. Maybe you did in the 4-team playoff. You don't in the 12. He can do everything he wants to do. As much as it pains me to say that as a Mississippi State fan, he can do absolutely everything he wants to do in Oxford.
Do you know what his one gripe has been this year?
Fans leaving early?
Yes.
Yep.
Who does that sound like?
Yeah.
The first thing he said after the Wake Forest game was, "Hey, our fans stayed till the end," because Ole Miss traveled well Saturday night. But then again, you can leave Vaught Hemingway and go out to the Grove.
Yeah.
You leave Wake Forest and you go to the motel room.
Yeah. You go to the forest.
and after you travel all that way to see a football game, I'm seeing a football game.
Yeah. Well, Steve, as always, we're just getting started when we run out of time, but it's always a blast having you on with us. Thank you for your time, and chat with you next Monday, my man.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll see you later.
Hey, later,
Thanks,
bud.
Steve.
Steve Barnes, senior writer for the rebelwalk.com. They've got a great staff of writers over there, great content on the website. Make sure you go check that out. You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. It's David Hayes, Coach Brian Haddad, and James Fife on the ones and twos. We're going to be right back taking things over with the PCB Hobby Takeover.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for college football and the Auburn Tigers.
He dives! He's in! Touchdown Auburn!
We heard you, Tiger fans. So this season, we're airing every single game. And you can take that to the bank.
It's picked off in the end zone!
Plus, the biggest games in the SEC and around the country play here on your official station for college football, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, a mixture of very light rain and partly cloudy skies and a low of 73 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the east. Light showers tomorrow morning, a light breeze and quite warm near 80. A variety of light rain and mostly sunshine and 83 in the afternoon and evening. 84 and sunshine with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Life can take us so many places. And at Panama City Toyota, we're here to make sure every drive is worth every minute.
Maybe you want a fun, fuel-efficient car for everyday driving. Or you need a dependable vehicle that really gets the job done. Sometimes it's all about answering the call of the wild. And when you're ready to shop, reserve your vehicle online and choose your options. Or we'll help you in person, even if you started the process at home.
Whatever works for you, always works for us.
Saturday, Auburn football is back.
Down the sideline. Oh, what a catch. Oh, what a catch by Perry Thompson.
The Tigers host the Arkansas Razorbacks in the SEC opener.
He looks that way, he throws, and it's intercepted at the 15-yard line. Antonio Kite.
Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Central, only on your home for the Tigers.
ESPN Northwest Florida. War Eagle.
The mission?
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
The state will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, there it is. The master get turned down?
It did.
Yep.
Best show we've ever done.
And the
until
official.
now.
I hate how I could
You should have just seen the ratings, man.
Yeah.
Flying through the roof.
Finally, like, golly, that young buck just shut his mouth for once. And there he goes again. The official station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And this is time for the PCB Hobby Takeover. Todd, Julia in the building with us. What's going on, Todd?
Happy Monday.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
I always do that.
In stereo.
What's going on, everybody? Wow, we're here.
Great to have you back, bud.
It's been crazy. I can't remember. I think last weekend was Labor Day or last Monday was Labor Day, so we weren't here during that time. But I was down in Florida at the at Tampa Comic Con, and the funny thing is, I go to Baltimore Comic Con tomorrow.
Oh,
so
you just stopped by just to say hello to us.
I just stopped by basically to say hello to everybody and wish everybody good luck for the week. But we're going to be up there doing that. We've had a lot going on at the shop. It's been crazy busy at the warehouse too. Lots of selling going on. So that's been good. Julia, I think, has the update for the shop, what's been happening, what's going on. And I believe Trade Day and Hobby Rip Night were both this last Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm excited to hear the update.
Yeah, well, we had a great time. Good turnout on Tops's, I think, third Rip Night.
That's correct.
So that was really great. And again, we're doing Trade Day every single second Saturday of the month. So if you missed this one, that's all right. Just come back to our next one. So this week we have our normal organized play. On Thursday, we're doing One Piece and Lorcana. Friday is Magic. Saturday is Pokemon. And actually a new Pokemon set just released. It's Stellar Crown. So if you haven't seen that set yet, Saturday would be a great time to come by and check it out. We also have a new Card Fight Vanguard set, Lyrical Monasterio. Sorry.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we have a sneak preview event on Saturday for that. Again, as Todd was saying, we are everywhere. So obviously we're going to be at Baltimore Comic-Con this weekend. We're also going to be at Atlanta Collecticon this weekend. And we just got a bunch of new like banners and pop-up walls. So our booths are going to be looking real cool, real nice. Again, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, any social media at PCB Hobby. And if you want to check out our streaming, we do eBay Live and whatnot, and you can find us there at PCB Hobby as well. And last week I talked about how we got our new hats in. We had a little bit of a heated discussion on what kind of hat is the best.
Yes, we
and
did.
so
Captain hats.
So I did.
Everybody know that.
Yeah.
I did bring you a hat.
Oh, buddy. Let's show this bald
I know
head
this is
off one
this
more
is
time.
radio, so you can't
Oh, but we're
see it
still-
unless you're on YouTube.
We're
but,
streaming.
Get me a
Yeah.
Coke can and a rubber band. I'll fix that thing quick.
So yeah, those are our new hats. They're pretty cool.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This weekend, is Sports Card going up to Collecticon, or no? That's just TCGs.
That's just
TCGs,
yeah.
right? Yeah. That's what I thought. So
Sports Card needs a break.
Yeah, no doubt. But we will be in Nashville.
We will.
Nashville is the next one. Oh, looks good, Dave.
Yeah,
Flat
buddy.
Bill.
There we
Let's
go.
go.
There we go, man. I like this. This is a
Alright,
comfortable
awesome.
hat.
Yeah.
Sports
Thank
is
you,
headed
guys.
to the Nashville Card Show, which is one of the biggest in the country. That's going to be in October. And then the first week in November, Fanatics Fest Orlando.
Yeah, we are super excited about
That's
that. We
gonna
went
be
to the
good.
New York one.
That's right.
I got to go with several people, and that was a lot of fun. And we are going to go again to Orlando. We're going to get set up and everything. That's going to be fun, too. Also, as far as comics go, we have that one this weekend in Baltimore, but we're also going to the New York Comic Con. That's October 19th-ish, somewhere around that weekend. So that's going to be a lot of fun, too. Like we said, Collecticon this weekend, which is going to be mostly Pokemon, Magic, but in Atlanta. Some of you people are not that far away from Atlanta, so who are listening right now, so you may want to check it out. It's going to be huge.
Yeah,
it's going to be huge.
So it's mostly TCGs, but
Mostly TCGs. There's going to be other things there, though, too, other games, and then it's a con.
Yeah.
So you'll see all kinds of interesting things go down. But anyways, it's pretty exciting. I also have a really cool coin I got, so I wanted to tell everybody about that. This would be one of those types of things that you'd ask me about, and so I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But this last week, Wednesday, we had brand new Bowman Chrome come out. That's the flagship product of the year for baseball. And so I don't know that it was talked about on Monday or not, but it did come out. We have it. It's awesome. Yep. You got to come in and buy it.
There you go.
So what's fun about it, you have a lot of the international guys.
Right.
So, a lot of these guys are going to go up. So Leo DeVries is kind of the big one for the Padres, is the big chase. But since Fanatics has come on, one of the things we've talked about every week is their marketing concept. And so what they've done, this may not have as many readily available names initially because these are prospects and more international. It's going to be huge down the line. What they've done this year is they have included all the rookies. So Skeens is in there with rookies, all this. But they also did a neat crossover. See, Fanatics and Topps own the license to Garbage Pail Kids, which is crazy familiar. They've done like 20 some odd different players. Paul Skeens is one of them. Jackson Churio
was one of them, right?
Yeah. They've done Garbage Pail Kids cards that are really short printed, and they are all the rage right now selling. So, outside of the normal Bowman Chrome, like they've added all these chase cards. That's just made it that much more fun.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I think there's a few other Go ahead, Julie.
We do have some Garbage Pail Kids available in shop and on streaming. So if you're curious about those, check that out.
Yeah, it's been crazy. What other products have come out?
So, last week was dominated by Bowman Chrome and Score Football. The first 2024 release is out there. So your first chance at Caleb Williams rookies and Jaden Daniels rookies and Bo Nix rookies and this, that, or the other are all out there now. You're going to start seeing more 2024 products going forward. A couple, I'm always a little reticent to say this week with Panini because they've been a little loose with their, release dates and all. But the next two to release will be Gold Standard, which is a higher end product, and Luminance, which is beautiful photography. Right. So these are going to come out. We're going to start seeing more 2024 products out. Baseball takes a couple of weeks down, and then when we get into October, they're going to ramp it right back up.
So. And I believe there was a WWE.
There's some of that, and a big soccer release coming Friday, Merlin, which we
huge.
Always talk about the quality of the card itself is the best in the world, but Merlin is huge in soccer, and that'll be coming out this Friday.
Yeah, we'll have all that stuff in shop for you guys. Now that summer is kind of over and we've hit to where a lot of the visitors have gone out of town and aren't coming into town as often now, we have tons of product for you guys. Locals, you need to come in, check us out. I'm sure you've seen commercials. I'm sure you heard us on the radio.
You're in some of the biggest time slots commercials.
I know, it's crazy.
Last night, so cool.
Last night or the night before, I think I was watching ESPN. I was watching one of the college games, and all of a sudden our commercial came out, and I was like, well, wow. We must be somebody.
Well, speaking of games, let me add something because Emma and Drew were working on this all night Friday, and this really was a big hit Saturday. We've kind of changed the shop around slightly down on the sports card, and we moved the big giant table a little further forward. And what we did is we took one of the sit-down tables and moved it back behind that because we're going to end up having a situation where you can grab dollar box. What in the world is Adam Schefter wearing on TV? Sorry about that, but I'm ADD. But to where you can sit down at the table. But at the sit-down table, it is now perfectly positioned for when football is on the two televisions that we have going. And we always have the games going. So you could sit there, rip boxes, go through the dollar boxes, everything like that, and watch the football game. It's actually a great hangout spot on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, no doubt. We have tons of cards and tons of stuff that we keep rotating in and out. So you guys need to check that out. Come in, sit down, hang out. There's plenty of room. And like I said, the visitors have gone home. Not that it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just the fact of the matter is that there's space. And that you can sit down and hang out now and don't have to worry about the traffic as much. So we're super excited to get everybody in there, especially as we come up on the holidays. Obviously, Halloween's coming up, and that's a special day for my wife. She loves Halloween. And then, of course, you have Thanksgiving coming up, and you also have, which we'll have, I'm sure, Black Friday sales and all kinds of stuff. And then Christmas. So you guys need to come check us out. We're doing a lot of good stuff.
And you can meet Brian there.
And you can, Maybe.
Maybe.
It depends if he lasts.
Yeah, if they let me out of my dungeon in the back.
Yeah. He had a medical appointment today and did not die. Thank God.
Yeah, well.
Thank God he did not. So we will be seeing more
Doctor
of him.
failed.
All right, so on to a quick story. So we were just at Tampa for a coin show as well. This was just this last weekend. And Kate went down there and Chad, anyways. They ended up picking up a coin for me that I've been wanting for a very long time. So I put together a set. So I'll tell you guys a little personal story. I started putting together a set 20 years ago.
Wow.
Of PCGS graded. So most of you know who have been listening to the show over the year or 2 years that I like to collect PCGS graded coins. And so that's a grading service. Anyways, and I was putting together an Indian head penny set, which you've asked about Indian head pennies before.
Right.
Except my set is mint state, which means they're uncirculated, they've never been touched, and again, they're graded by PCGS. So every coin has to be that. Some of these coins are thousands of dollars in mint state. They're tough. But technically, the Flying Eagle penny, which was for 3 years, most people don't include that in the Indian head penny set. I do. And so what's different about that is that we had large pennies called large cents up until 1857. And so in 1857, they decided to cut over to the Flying Eagle penny. It was a new design. And technically, in 1856, they put it out too. So for 2 years, it overlapped a large cent and a small cent for 1856 and 1857. The 1856 is rare as rare can be. It is a monster rare coin. But if you include it in the Flying Eagles, the 3 Flying Eagles, the 56, 57, and 58, for the Indian head penny set, which I did, and I've decided, I got every penny mint state graded besides the 1871 and the 1856. 1856 being stupid rare, like out of most people's budgets ever.
Right.
So, anyways, Kate found an 1871 for me. So that was the last one I needed. It was in an NGC holder, which is another grading service. So we went ahead and sent it off to PCGS to get it crossed over. So then I will have my final piece for that. And then the only one I would actually be missing was an 1856. However, I'm not really missing the 1856. I actually have one, but it's in VF 35. That's not mint state. That's about halfway.
Okay.
From just good condition to mint state. About halfway in condition grade, it's a VF. So I have one in VF, but it's in an ICG holder. It's a third party that I don't collect ICG, but I will definitely look at a coin in an ICG holder. They're not terrible. eBay recognizes them, so they're not just complete junk.
Right.
And so I have one in VF35, but that's not considered part of my set because, again, I'm doing mint state only. Well, Kate actually found a huge dealer from Oregon that had a mint state 64. Now, what's interesting about the 1856 is that it actually was pretty much only produced in proof condition because there were special examples that they would hand out and give out way back in 1856. Showpieces.
Right.
And so they did, however, strike a few mint state examples, which again are rarer than the proof examples, but the proof examples are stupid rare as well. And so you have to have a specific, they won't even grade them in mint state anymore. What they'll do is they'll say they're proof and they'll say Snow 3. Snow is a guy who attributes coins, and High 5. And so the 5 on it is actually kind of moved up. And then it's a Snow 3, which is actually a mint state strike. So they don't even grade a mint state anymore. Mine happened to be graded VF35, which is actual mint state designation or a regular circulated coinage designation. And it should have been graded as a proof, but mine says Snow 3 High 5 as well. So I have one. It's rare. It's like $10,000. It's expensive. It's stupid.
Gosh.
In VF35,
yeah,
she found a mint state 64. Now it's actually a proof 64, but it says Snow 3 high five on it, which means it's the designator. Anybody who knows that's the actual mint state version of the coin, which they do not put mint state on the holder anymore. So you can't even get it with the same mint state, but technically it is the mint state coin. So technically it would be the very last piece I would need for my set. And she found one in Tampa, believe it or not. And so I gave her the go ahead, and it just got here today.
Oh, wow.
I have the complete Indian head penny with flying eagle set of every rarity there is in the set. And it took me 20 years.
And from Oregon.
And believe it or not, the company was from Oregon.
That's funny.
Yeah, which is where I grew up. So
Right.
it was funny. It was the last piece I needed came from the home state that I grew up in. So anyways, that's my
what kind
story
of
for
rabbits
today.
do you got? Rabbit feet in your pocket.
I am not even going to tell you how much it cost because it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
But it's worth it though, right?
But,
I mean,
yeah,
look at
100%.
the happiness and joy that you're experiencing.
There is somebody
emanating all
put it
over
this
us.
way: there is somebody who has one out there right now listed on a dealer network for $25,000 in AU. AU is not even mint state yet, and mine is a mint state 64. So do the math. Do the math. It's
So are you planning to sell it or create a shrine?
No, so I keep it locked up in the deep down recesses of Nowheresville, where nobody knows.
Julia's wondering how good Christmas is going to be.
Right.
It's
not good if you
it's not.
spend.
I spent all my money. So it's my most expensive coin I own now.
Wow.
Yeah, most expensive coin I own, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's a showpiece, and it's I'll take some pictures and show it to you guys when I come back next. But I didn't have a chance to see it in hand. Kate opened it and sent me a picture.
Let's go.
Anyway, yeah, super cool. Anyways, I thought you guys would be interested in a cool personal story today about that. As far as that goes, we've been collecting all kinds of stuff lately. We got tons of comic books. We got tons of sports cards, tons of TCGs. We've been going to a lot of shows. In fact, Ethan just went to one, Collectorama in Atlanta.
Culture
Collision in Atlanta. Apparently a lot of sports cards there too, so we're probably going to do that coming up because I think they have 2 a year. And he picked up a ton of Pokemon singles. So if anybody's looking for Pokemon singles, let us know. We have a good inventory and a good stock of those. As always, you can catch us on TikTok, PCB Hobby on TikTok, and you can also catch us on eBay Live. eBay Live, we've been doing pretty much 6 to 7 days a week on comic book streaming, coin streaming, and TCG streaming, and sports cards 5 days a week.
And if we weren't clear on the TikTok thing, we don't just post fun videos and all that. We do live streams, and we treat it almost like eBay Live or whatnot.
Right.
So we actually auction stuff off on TikTok.
And
Live.
if anybody's interested in toys, I happen to have a couple storage units full of toys now.
Only a couple. Only a couple storage units.
I have Legos. I have cars. Disney cars. I have G.I. Joe figures. I have
Funko
models,
Pops.
Funko Pops. I've got a lot of stuff.
Those are pretty big, aren't they? The
So
Funko Pops?
if anybody's interested in any of those types of things or would like to come see, I absolutely will show you guys some stuff. However, I'm going to be gone for the next week, so put a call into the shop. We'll get your name and number, and I'll give you a call back when I get back next week and set something up. If anybody's interested in any type of toy, I probably have it now.
And we actually did a coin.
Toys R Us odd.
Yeah. We actually didn't we do a whatnot stream for
we
toys?
did. We've done 2 whatnot streams for toys. We did a regular package toys like
Funko Pops,
Funko Pops, stuff like that, and then we did the other package toys, which were like figures, in package, still brand new, sealed, of all different types of figures, whether they're comic figures or Star Wars figures, just things like that. All in box, in package, and so we have tons of stuff still. We're probably going to be running some more streams on that too as well. So we're pretty excited about that. So anyways, we have a lot going on in every arena. Now, don't be confused. We're not a toy buyer. I just happen to get a big deal that had stuff in it. So I have a lot of it, but we're definitely selling.
All right, real quick, we've got Tony on the line, and I think he's got a question for you. Todd,
Let's go.
Tony, go ahead.
Let's go.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Would you happen to have the G.I. Joe Deep Sea Diver?
Potentially. And what I'm going to say potentially is why. I have a ton of box G.I. Joe stuff. However, I personally have not gone through it. And what I mean by that is I have it in the storage unit. I know where we can look if you want to come meet me, but I don't know specifically what I have as far as which versions and which ones. I know I have some vintage stuff. I have some not in package vintage stuff. I have, in other words, the large ones, kind of the taller scale ones, like the 18-inch tall ones and the 12-inch tall ones. I have some of those figures. And then I also have the smaller, ones that we all remember from the 80s and 90s.
Okay, I'll get up with you on the phone. Then.
Absolutely. Just give us a call at the shop and give them your name and number and tell them that you're interested in G.I. Joes. And then when I get back next week, I'll give you a call.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tony. Todd, as always, great stuff. Julie, you want to hit us with the rundown one more time?
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, eBay Live, and whatnot at PCB Hobby. Again, that is at PCB Hobby.
There you go. All right. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Go check out PCB Hobby. You will not regret it. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with our final segment of this Monday afternoon.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
This Friday night, we're going under the lights. It's the Mosley Dolphins at home versus the Escambia Gators. Join David and Kyle for the Mosley Dolphins live from Tommy Oliver Stadium, kickoff at 7. Mosley Dolphin football on ESPN Northwest Florida is sponsored by Panama City Toyota, orthopedic specialist, and Chapman Wealth Management. You owe the IRS back taxes, and dealing with the IRS stresses you out. Fortunately, IRS Problem Relief can help you resolve back taxes and represent you to the IRS so you don't have to face them alone. Last year, IRS Problem Relief saved clients drowning in tax debt. And IRS Problem Relief is a local company right here in Panama City, not some 800 number where you can never talk to the same person twice. Put those problems behind you so you can focus on moving forward. Call Edward Corey with IRS Problem Relief, 850-784-8176. For a free consultation, call Edward Corey with IRS Problem Relief. It's 850-784-8176 or visit irsproblemrelief.com.
The Braves have battled through a lot this season, and now the battle turns to the playoffs as the Braves try to lock up their spot in October.
Swung on and rocked down the left field line. Rolling down the line all the way to the wall. 2-1 Atlanta here in the fourth.
Tonight, the Braves close out this huge series in Atlanta as they get one more game against Mookie Betts and the Dodgers live from Truist Park.
Braves coverage begins at 6 after the Afternoon Underdogs. First pitch 6:20. You're home for the Braves, ESPN Northwest Florida.
In your face.
Questionable calls all over the NFL this year.
On the field.
Quantify, to put a value on momentum, you can't do that.
And in your radio.
Hashtag NFL Rig.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. David Hayes here along with Coach Brian Haddad and James Fife. I love seeing people just over the moon, happy and joyous, and that was a real cool story. And I appreciate Todd for sharing that with us here on the PCB Hobby Takeover. We obviously got to talk a little bit about Monday Night Football, but first let's run through these scores from our local high school football. Mosley took down Navarre 36-7 last Thursday. They will be at it again this Friday against Escambia at 7 p.m. Don't forget to tune in here Friday at 6 p.m. with Coach Brian Haddad and Coach Andy Siegel. We got Friday, South Walton, the game you mentioned earlier. South Walton got the better of Arnold 21-13, but that game could have went either way. Yeah. Escambia beat Bay 30-29 on the heels of a terrible call. I think it's fair to say that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about it. I
saw it, and it was bad.
Yeah, and that was a heartbreaker for Bay because that would have been a really big win on the road to get that one out there. But
tough. I mean, I try to stand up for the referees whenever I can. Yep. That was one that you're just like, he wasn't even close to the goal line. Holmes took down Rutherford 34-19. Mariana shuts out Bozeman 49-0.
Mariana's good.
Yeah, they're real good.
That running back is, and he's only a junior. He's phenomenal.
Cottondale also has themselves a heck of a wide receiver as well. They got weapons all over the place. They beat Freeport 64-22. Jefferson shuts out North Bay Haven 28-0. Sneeds takes down FAMU 25-6. Walton over West Florida 48-21. Chipley shutting out Vernon 18-0. Niceville on top of Crestview 35-14. Pensacola taking care of Destin 20-17. And then Pine Forest beat Choctaw 20-14. That's a little bit of a surprising score.
Yeah, I mean, if you're my age, Pine Forest was, I mean, in the 80s.
Juggernaut.
Yeah, I mean, they won a couple of mythical national championships, I think in 88, because there was a school right outside of Mobile that it was between the two of them. One Publications National Championship, the other one the other. Steve Barnes and I have talked about this. They settled it in a free throw shooting contest. But yeah, Pine Forest was always kind of the juggernaut when I was coming up. So hearing that for me isn't as much of a surprise. But yeah, they haven't been as good lately. So good win for them.
Well, there you have it. And then we do have some volleyball games going on this evening. Let me pull those up real quick. And then we'll
a lot of good volleyball in this area for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Today is not the 19th, so I don't. I brought up the football.
There you go.
Yeah, so let's actually go to volleyball here, and we've got Alpha is on the road taking on Mariana. Cottondale is on the road taking on Bethlehem. Franklin County is hosting Wakulla Christian School, and Freeport hosting Destin. Bozeman on the road in Holmes County. Arnold is on the road taking on Booker T, and Rocky Bayou Christian hosting Lead Academy. Port St. Joe on the road at Gadsden County, and FSU High School. They will travel to Liberty County tonight for a 7 p.m. serve time. All right. Here we are, Monday Night Football.
Yep.
You got the Eagles. You got the Falcons. Falcons did not look so good in their Kirk Cousins opener, and they gave up a bunch of field goals, 6 to be exact, and lost that game. The Eagles looked good in Brazil. Jalen Hurts, yes, he could have looked better. What are you expecting from the game tonight, Coach?
I expect the Falcons to try and establish the run a little bit more. They're going to need to do that. They were showing a stat earlier of Kirk Cousins and how they're not putting him in play action at all. And they need to get some of that going. They've got good backs. I mean, obviously Bijan Robinson, but Tyler Allgaier. And I mean, they need to establish the run. Looks like the weather's not going to be much of an issue, so that should be fine. But, yeah, the Falcons got to get something going on the ground to open up what, Kirk Cousins can do with those wide receiver weapons like London and Pitts and guys like that. So I would expect them to lean in on that. So we'll see.
James, your thoughts on this game? Eagles are a 5.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 45.5.
Oh, I feel confident in the Eagles. Over under. Let's go over on it because I do think the Eagles will run up the score a little bit. I'm not totally confident. The Falcons are going to put the ball in the end zone a whole lot of times, but I mean, we could see Bijan Robinson come out and run for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, or at least my fantasy team says that.
I need a big night from Devontae Smith in a couple of leagues. I on the inside drive, I said 31-27 Eagles. I think I'm going to drop that down to 31-24 Eagles still. So that would put them 10 points over the over. But you know what, Brian, before we let you get out of here, Tua. Rough night last Thursday.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds for Tua Tagovailoa?
We need to stop shoveling dirt on this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's always a worry. Concussions, look, some people could have 15 of them. Some can have 1 and it be the one. I get it. I understand it. We are learning more and more about it, but we don't know everything yet. And the fact is, it's been said a million times, football's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport. You're going to have these things. I think the biggest thing is he gets in with the doctors, they work on it, they do the best that they can, but Tua said, I have no plans to retire. We've got to stop shoveling dirt on these guys, when they take a tough hit. Let them have the time they need to get right, and when he's ready, he's going to come back out there and play football because that's what he loves to do. So I think some of the comments have been a little over the top and, he's done, he'll never play again. He took a hard hit.
Yeah.
You're going to take those. It's not that it's not serious, but it's football. And if the guy wants to play football and the doctors clear him, more power to him to come back out there. I don't think there's anything in the way that he does things that particularly draws him. I don't think it's because he's smaller. I just think it's one of those things. There are other guys who've taken a lot of concussions too. So, to me, let's just sit back, let the process play out, and stop shoveling dirt on the guy when he just took a hard hit.
Let the cake bake. What would be the most surprising result from either Saturday or NFL Sunday?
The Saints doing what they did was a little surprising, to be honest. Not so much against the Rams, but the Cardinals look really good.
Yeah.
And they're firing on all cylinders there. In college football, I'll be honest, I thought Florida was going to put up more of a fight.
Yeah,
I really
me too.
did. And, Florida and FSU, it's just rough. But I don't know. I don't think anything can surprise me in college anymore because it's all up in the air.
It's all over the place, too.
Yeah, what would surprise me is no surprises.
Bama, Georgia, 2 weeks from now.
Well, they just announced Trump's going to be at the game, which is bad for Alabama because the last time he was at the game was when they lost to LSU at home. Bama certainly got some confidence back in the way they handled business at Wisconsin. That being said, I think both schools have the week off. Is that correct?
Yes,
so,
both buys.
That's probably going to help Georgia a little more because they need a little more time to rest up. But then Caden Proctor has a little time to get healthy. So I expect a really good, tough football game. I would say probably in the 20-17 kind of range if you're asking me right now.
I was so close to depositing $500 into Hard Rock this Saturday when Wisconsin took the 3-0 lead. The spread dropped down to Bama minus 8.5 at plus 120. I was like, you guys got to be kidding me here. I've already got
I took the points. I loved Alabama's matchup in that game. I really did.
And then obviously it didn't help that Tyler Van Dyke went down, who does have a torn ACL, so he will miss the remainder of the year. But we are out for, I hate when Mondays end because I love doing the show with you guys. Tomorrow's going to be fun as well. You got Max DeLyden and Tyler Bishop. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I, and
the Titans stink.
We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all keep it locked in for the Atlanta Braves coming up next here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
I love to laugh. I don't care, darling, about
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Click on stuff like Netflix or these different apps looking for something to watch, and you can literally sit there for like 40 minutes trying to decide what you want to watch, and